It's not going to hurt my feelings if y'all don't want to come over.
Did you watch Colorado game Thursday night?
Mm-hmm.
How much of it, when you watch it, is just studying what they do, and how much of it is just entertainment value to watch a game?
Well, I think anytime you watch a game, regardless if it's an upcoming opponent or not, you always put yourself in the shoes of calling the game and managing the game as a coach. So regardless of whether it's an upcoming opponent or a game that you're just happen to have time to watch, which you don't have much time to do during the fall, but you know, the tempo of the game and things, you're going to get the film. So as far as just watching on TV, it's very difficult sometimes to see what they're doing from a blocking scheme standpoint, protection, route-wise down the field. And when I know I'm going to get the film, I don't pay as much attention to some of those things as much as anything as a tempo of the game and how they orchestrate out of the huddle and things.
Greg Davis said he has a notepad that he can jot down stuff if he's watching the game. Do you do anything like that, or is it just?
I got a better memory than Greg. So now, you know, just kind of in your mind, as you're watching a game, you just kind of go through what you think and sort of the same thought process.
What did you notice from Colorado just watching the game?
Well, I think that, you know, they're a team that wants to run the football. I think they have three very quality backs, and Stewart obviously is a guy that's, you know, shown to have some big playability. Scott's been banged up since the Toledo game, and Sumler's a guy that they really like in protection. They've had a hard time getting things vertical down the field and creating a lot of what I call chunk plays down the field, although they are taking a lot of shots down the field. So they're a team that obviously, was with the balance that they have as an offense, will be a great opportunity for our kids on Saturday.
Obviously, I think Cody Hawkins gets a lot of talk on that offense, but what about Scotty McKnight? He seems like a guy.
You know, he's a really good football player. You watch him; he runs precise routes. He's got great hands. They obviously have a pretty good relationship as far as on the field's concerned and knowing where each other are. He does a great job in the scramble pass, and Hawkins buys a lot of time because he's a really good athlete. So he's a guy that we got to have a lot of awareness for on game day.
Coach, I know you talked about at the beginning of the year having like the big nickel with Christian Scott. Now that you know that you're not going to have him, is that something you eliminate, or can you make it work with other players?
No, we still use it with Earl Thomas as being the nickel and AJ staying outside, and we've used that in some packages this year.
Coach, I know that it was touched on a little bit after the UTEP game, but how did you think of how the defense was playing, and you know, how do you build on that? Because to the naked eye, it seemed like some of them were more cohesive, but the chemistry seems to just be picking up as we go on.
Well, you know, I think again you're judged on every Saturday afternoon, so you hate to look back at one performance and say, "Wow, we really did a good job." I always tell the players the good plays take care of themselves. The negative ones are the ones we need to correct and move on with. And we had our share against UTEP that we need to correct, and we corrected those, and the good plays take care of themselves. We need to continue to play consistently, and that's been our challenge for our kids all year, has been to let's continue to play consistent football. That's what dominating teams do. They play well all the time. They play well for 60 minutes. They play well week in, week out, and that's what we've really challenged our players with.
Are you liking what you're seeing out of the pass rush as far as how it's showing up in the second year as well?
Right. I think we've had good rush all year. I've said that from the first game on, that I feel like we've affected the quarterback in every game, whether or not we were bringing pressure or not. So I've been pleased with our pass rush ability. I think we've got to do a better job of converting on the run pass downs, of when it's, you know, play action pass, of recognizing that up front, converting in the rush, of staying more disciplined in some of our rush lanes, some things we worked on the off week there. So there's obviously a lot of things, and we haven't really faced a true two-back running team. So we've got our work cut out for us, and we'll see some two-back runs Saturday night.
How do you adjust your approach in practice per se when you do see that? I'm sure it's a learning experience for everybody as well.
Well, I mean, we spend a lot of time in training camp and in spring working on two-back runs, and our offense gives us that too. Now that we're running some two-back, but you know, your kids become accustomed to the things they rep all the time. So when we line up against empty teams and one-back teams, we feel pretty comfortable because we've seen it and we've repped it a lot. And you're not as comfortable against teams when you face a lot of motion shifts, movement, two-back runs, which we don't see a lot of. So those are the things we really have emphasized in training camp when we've had time, and emphasized in the off week because we don't see a lot of it. So we try to get the kids more accustomed to what they're doing. We have everything within our package that we can adjust out to the two-back and to the motions and shifts. So we just got to do a good job of preparing our players so they can cut it loose and play hard on Saturday night.
Do they remind you of anybody? I mean, the way they use their tight end and the two-back sets, does it remind you of anybody?
Well, I mean, I think they're very similar to what they were a year ago, although a year ago they were more 3 wides, 11 personnel, and now they're building it with their tight ends, and they've got 3 big guys that run well and are tough matchups as far as because of their girth compared to a linebacker or a defensive back in a safety situation when you get matched up on those guys. So they just, they create a lot of balance offensively with what they do, and the run, the play action off that, a lot of pocket movement, sprint out. They go, utilize Hawkins' feet to get him on the edges and give him a run pass option on some things. So, again, we've got to be, each week it seems like they're philosophically they remain the same, but schematically they change a little bit based on the opponent. So we'll need to do a good job of adjusting early in the game.
And they played a really pretty tough non-conference schedule too, which kind of toughens up their players a little bit more.
Sure. I mean, you go on the road to West Virginia. I mean, I've never been there, but I've heard it's a tough place to go play, and they have a good football team this year. So.
Compared to how he feels right now to a relationship, he said now that he's there through those first few games, he feels more comfortable, better with the team. Can you tell that in your players, and is it easier to coach them now for the next 4 games?
Well, I think the older players, they always understand what to expect. I think the guys that maybe have played but not as played as extensively as they are playing now are obviously going through the growing pains of the grind of week to week, day to day, practice, preparation, switching gears, changing who we face schematically, what they do offensively. And I think that there comes a certain comfort level with a younger player through time, and I certainly understand what Dan is saying, and I think you start to see that about mid-season with a lot of kids. When a lot of freshmen hit the wall right now, they've got a lot on their mind. They've got academics, they've got social, they've got football. I mean, there's an awful lot of time constraints on them and pressures on them right now, and it's hard for them to handle all of those things right now. And generally, this is the time when they start to wander a little bit on you, and you got to make sure you keep them confined to what they've got to do.
Is it harder to keep them confined when, say, this 4-game stretch may not have the hype that last year's 4-game stretch did?
Well, we're just looking at one game. That's Colorado. So we're going to approach them one at a time. We've got a mature football team, and the kids understand the task at hand this week is Colorado. So we just got to keep them focused for Colorado right now.
Is that hard to do, knowing that, I mean, as big as everybody makes Texas OU to be, I mean, is it hard to get your kids to only focus on Colorado?
I think not with a mature team. I think when you've got guys like Rod McElroy and Sergio Kendall and Lamar Houston and guys that have been through the grind before, understand it's a one game season. And we're playing Colorado, and that's where our preparation, our focus needs to be. Look at UTEP Houston, a great example. Who would have ever thought that?
Coach Brown says he breaks the season up into mini seasons. How does that help the team?
Well, I think it causes some division for the players, and seeing that there's light at the end of the tunnel. I think it's a good way of looking at things, and that we're going to work through this stretch, we're going to work through this stretch, we're going to work through this stretch of the season, instead of sometimes, especially for a younger player, to see the long haul of a long 12-week season with an off week. So I think that it's obviously beneficial, especially for the younger players.